Call meeting to order. We do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, approval of the agenda. Are there any additions that are made?
I'd like to add something under old business D, just a brief discussion. I don't like to add these things, but I'll have you add it next meeting also. But a brief discussion on Eastern Trail parking.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? Need a motion to approve the agenda as amended then.
So, second.
All in favor? Minutes of January 13th, 2014.
Motion to accept. Second.
Motion made to accept them as prepared. Anybody have any corrections or modifications to be made? All in favor? Okay, we're going to move on to new business. We'll come back to public forum and committee board reports such as they are, and take up the matter of the draft, or the final report, I guess, of the Chesapeake Group, which was presented to the Economic Development Committee. I understand it's here. Everybody's got a copy of that now. And everybody got a copy, I think, of a letter that Chairman Camp forwarded along with some, I think these are the board's, I won't say criticisms, but disagreements with the report, and perhaps suggestions as to how it might differ. I don't know how you want to proceed. Does anybody want to make a general statement about what's been going on? I will confess, I only had an opportunity to read the first part of this and only read it once, and Mr. Camp's letter, I didn't have an opportunity to go through all the technical. Yeah. Okay.
There was some coffee.
Thanks very
I'm trying to stall it for you, Linda.
You're on, Ira.
You're up, Myra.
Take your time. Thank you.
Hi, so I don't, did you already give them the actual physical report and the letter and so forth?
Yes.
Right, we have your letter, and everybody at least has a copy. Some of us have an opportunity to go through some of it. Some of us just got it tonight, so haven't read it entirely. As I said, we have reviewed your comments, or the comments of the committee communicated through you. So I guess where do we go from here, I guess is the next question.
Well, that's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't even gotten beyond what we basically, the letter and the report that we put to you. I mean, essentially where we go from here is what do we do to implement the ideas that are there? What ideas out of the report do we actually want to use? Do we like? Do we think are actually appropriate for the town? I think those are the big questions that we need to ask ourselves when we move forward with what we got. Are we happy with it? Do we move forward with the branding portion of it too, as far as the the logo and the slogan and so forth, which is the last part of what Howard needs to do for us essentially to fulfill his contract.
Where does that stand right now?
It's on hold.
Okay.
Yeah. We basically wanted to get everybody's input, on what he did for us so far. I mean, I don't think we owe him a whole lot more money to finish that part up, so I don't know if we could even get out of the contract and if it's even worth fighting with it for, what he's, but he did, I'm sure I even mentioned that, yeah. Anyway, there's a little story behind some of that, but we'll go there another time, but I mean, I think that's really where we're at, you know? What do we do with the report? How do we implement it? What parts of it do we like and do we not like? And which ones do we think are most appropriate to the town that we could actually use?
I think what we'd like to see is try to get as much input now from you, from the people in the town. We want to get it out there and see if we can get some input back from the community to find out, you know, what they would like to see in our economic development plan, which is to be written next with the
Because obviously-
information that was given to us.
We all have our own opinions of the study, and there are many of them. And I think definitely we're looking for more input from people that haven't been as quite involved in the process as we have to see, you know, what they think of what the TCG came up
How
with.
are you planning on getting that input?
We were gonna wait to hear from you.
Yeah, now that you have it, you know, we plan on posting it online, just hoping people at least get the word out there that, you know, hey, get involved, let us know what you think. And hopefully we'll get some feedback. I don't know what else we thought possibly could do.
I would imagine it will be on the website, right? People will be able to download it. There's going to be some sort of email blast going out to let people know it's available. I would imagine it'll go out on the arrow at some point that it's available. So hopefully people will read it and give us feedback. And
Would it be best to hold a series of workshops?
Yeah.
I might just add that the letter we sent to you, the cover letter, really summarizes where the EDC is right now. It was, we received the report from Howard in late September, I think.
Is the letter from Ira?
From Ira to Chairman Downey.
Yep.
And that really summarizes, I think, the position of the EDC on what we felt we could take out of the report that was valuable and useful. We received the report in late September, and we spent a considerable amount of time with Howard trying to talk to him about things we thought he was on point for and things that we felt he should spend more time on. And that's included in the second document you have, the letter that we wrote in October, I think.
I was just gonna say, I didn't get that, so,
Yeah.
the review of the Chesapeake report that you did back in October, we didn't have that.
October letter didn't go.
Didn't go out, well, I apologize for
I
that, because
apologize, that was.
that summarizes the work that we did for about 2 months with Howard, back and forth. We weren't just sitting there. We were trying to get him to focus on some things that we felt were important for us, and to reconsider some of the other things that he talked about and emphasized, such as a reinstatement of agricultural activity in town, or agro-tourism, and things like that. So the cover letter that you have to you, I think summarizes both our differences and where the EDC feels now the greatest areas of opportunity are. Is that a fair statement, Aaron? Yep.
Yeah, and as far as like the marketing and branding, we just felt like to go forward with that without input from everybody or an agreement, because the study is so vast, no actual plan's been written. We didn't feel that, you know, having a logo and a branding at this point wasn't, you know, we had to do the rest of the job first before we could do that. So.
I think one of the fears was that with so much emphasis on agriculture and Howard's report, if we had given him the go-ahead right off the bat, to go ahead with the branding and
come back with a cornfield.
marketing, I'm not sure that we want to brand ourselves only as an agricultural community, because it's really putting all of our eggs in one basket, and I think there were some real concerns about that. That's why we felt that we should get the report out, just put everything on hold for at least a couple of weeks, try to get some feedback from the Board of Selectmen and from the general public, and then move ahead with the branding and marketing end of it after that.
Well, just from my point of view, what little I read, I said I read it only one time through, and I want to go through it again, I'm sure I missed a lot. But I just had a sense that a lot of what he was relying upon as assets, we have no control over. Biddeford Airport, I mean, that's a minefield over in Biddeford. There's nothing that we're going to be able to do, I think, to take advantage if in fact that is an asset of our community. I just don't see it. But
I think what he
We
wants.
tend to agree with you.
Yeah, right, it's not something that, but we need to be prepared if something does become, that it could become an asset, and we just can't, like, you know, you just never know what's, you know.
Yeah, but I thought the focus of this was to try to find strategies to bring businesses into our community, and I just thought that was a red herring, so to speak. I mean, I don't know how that works, how it could work. I for one don't want to get embroiled in all that.
Well, his main point behind it was the land that we have over by the airport that we could develop and, you know, and use as part of their airport, but like you said, who knows what that's gonna be over there, so that's kind of,
He just thinks it's important when we are rezoning to keep in mind that there could be some changes over there.
he talked a lot about it, and every time we would say, we have no idea what's going on with the Biddeford airport. So,
I'm not sure Bedford
But
knows.
if magically should happen, if magically should be a
They
regional
just
airport.
reinstated the
Wouldn't it be
airport
great?
committee, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in that, he also talked about like transportation, where we're so accessible to all these different types of transportation. I mean, it's, you know, it was an asset, you know,
location.
location,
Yeah.
Location.
good location.
I just have a quick question, Tom.
Go ahead.
Ira, in this thing that you put together, this letter, is this, all the board members of the Economic Development Committee agree with this, or there are some members that say, no, he's right on, or, I mean, how was that?
Basically, well, yeah, we all had our input, and then the letter got written jointly, and then we had a meeting, and we all approved the
We
letter.
approved the letter.
This is unanimous.
It was voted on unanimously.
Again, just from my perspective, I agree. I mean, agriculture is wonderful, but I don't see that as a major strategy that's going to be a benefit to this community. I mean, I don't even see, but for maybe Kate's, but I'm not sure the other farmers that we have in this community be real happy about opening up their doors to the public. I mean, these are family farms.
We won't fight you on that.
That might have come up a couple times, John, in meetings.
Jeez.
I thought that was really one of the main failings of the report, was to put so much emphasis on agriculture. I mean, it's been on the decline for years and years, and I don't know what we could ever do to turn it around.
Ag tourism is more up and coming, whether we can develop that in this town or not, like you said, you know, we need willing participants, obviously.
Right.
But that's with anything, I mean, that's with any, you know, a lot of the businesses and ideas and so forth that he came up with, or that anybody would come up with, you know, it's gonna have the same thing, you gotta find the people to do it, you know, even if we don't have them now, you know. So, they're ideas, you know, they're not, I guess the point is they're not existing businesses that are gonna be here that we need to help develop. The point is to bring in new businesses, and one of them he's suggesting is ag tourism. And that is an up and coming thing that is popular in a lot of places and not too far away from us. So, he mentioned Davis's farmland a lot, down in Massachusetts, and, you know, my family and my kids do go 2 hours to drive down there to check that place out. It's a great place, and it's a fun time, and you know, whether we could do something like that here, but, you know, who knows, but it is a very popular, profitable sort of farm, you know, situation that doesn't require a huge infrastructure and doesn't require the best land going, you know, to do so, so. But I think that was his point, not so much in what we already had here, but what could we bring here that is up and coming businesses.
You have the Harris Farm in Dayton that is very,
Yeah.
you know, between cross-country skiing and.
Smiling Hill, same thing,
Yeah, we're not saying it's not a good idea, but we just can't rely on it to, you know, to bring in what we're looking for, that's all. There's more, we need more.
I think now that we're at a point where we can really start to develop an economic development plan for Arundel based on some of this information, it'll be our job to sift through the proposals that he's made and try to determine what might be realistically workable and what is pie in the sky. And that's something that we're going to have to take a hard look at and try to determine what are the real practical things that we could do to try to encourage business development in Arundel. And my personal feeling is that trying to encourage agriculture is probably a losing fight, and I, for one, don't want to spend a heck of a lot of time on it. But I think there are other suggestions in there that we could look into and try to develop a workable plan for the town.
The material covered in the last page, or second and last page about financing, though, is interesting. If you had a chance to read
Which
that.
one?
On the letter.
Okay.
On the letter. The report also covers financing, but on discussion with Howard and amongst ourselves, we felt some of what he was emphasizing was just impractical and would cost too much. It may be great for a bigger town, but it's not for us. But the second part that we talked about is an informal approach to raising some capital to act as seed money for development activity. The idea is not fleshed out, but we thought of it as sort of like the Green Bay Alpacas approach to raising some money to make available to almost anyone in town for a small amount of money, with some leadership by some major capital input in town, to put together a pool of money that could be used to help in the development of activities that we felt needed promotion and help. So it's just a seed of an idea, but nothing happens without money, as you know, in this world. And we do not have a lot of it in this town, but if you can find a way to get some money to seed capital economic development activities, don't know what they are yet, but in the areas that we want, would be a great help. The TIF financing may play a role in some of this if the Arundel Cottages comes to bear, as we hope it does, but even if it doesn't, and we move ahead with the economic development, some sort of capital formation. It may be a quasi public-private enterprise. It could be a private enterprise. Don't know yet. But we need to get some money too. So that's also covered in the letter.
I'll just say, aside from the report itself, I think one thing that we found through our discussion was just how much of tax revenue we're going to actually need to bring in from a non-residential source to actually move that needle from where we're at residentially to get to a more non-residential tax-based income. And, I think we're all of the opinion that it's not going to happen with a lot of little shops. We're going to need a couple of big things to happen somewhere to really move that needle from one to the other.
I think the estimate was, I think Sam came up with a figure of about 17.5%. That is that right now, commercially raised taxes amount to about 17.5% of the total property tax that Arundel brings in. And we looked at what we would need to do to get that from 17.5 up to 25%. And I think you're looking at about $56 million worth of investment, to move the needle only 7.5 points. That is a lot of money, and as Ira was saying, it's not the kind of thing you're going to do with nickel and dime projects. Nothing against smaller projects, but it's going to take one or two decent-sized projects to really make a difference.
You know what a full-blown seasonal cottage, what that would do percentage-wise?
Not off the top of my head.
Well, of course, that goes into TIF too, so the actual tax impact might not be felt for a number of years.
I understand that. I mean, obviously, it's huge whether it's TIF or not, but that makes a difference.
Yeah, I don't have the report in front of me, but obviously it was worth a lot of money when it was done, when it was fully built out. The assessed value was high.
Yeah, I think it was worth about $7.5 million to the town over a 25-year period.
Someone's in that ballpark.
Yeah, and quite a bit. The problem is that if that goes into a TIF district, the town does not get that money in the general fund. It has to be spent on projects that go toward economic development. And I think that covers quite a variety of stuff. Todd is a lot more familiar with the kind of things that you can use that money for, but it doesn't give the town quite the flexibility that money going into the general fund does. I would look at that as being as possible. Sorry?
It
Until
shows it
25
for
years.
25 years, too.
25 years,
Yeah.
yeah. I think if that project were to go, it could be a heck of a stimulus for that area down on Route 1, which might attract other businesses in, and property tax from those businesses would go directly into the general fund rather than the TIF district. So I think it would be a heck of a good project for the town, even if the monies from the TIF district go to the TIF district, not directly into the general fund.
But we're using money from the TIF to pay for things that we wouldn't have to pay for out of general fund, so we're getting the benefit of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like
One way or another, we're
it's
getting
set
that
aside, we
benefit.
can't use it.
Right.
We're gonna make use of it, and I think it comes around the same spot eventually.
Yeah.
Just of interest, and one of the things we focused on was the potential for tourism to develop in here. And of course, I don't know whether you saw this, but Sanford disappeared on the 24th.
Oh, yeah.
The theme park they
Yeah.
talked about up by the airport. Well, I have no idea what this has any legs to it or not, but that's the sort of thing that we're talking about in terms of major development. Whether it would be right for here, whether we'd want to encourage it, I don't know yet, but it's that sort of thing that makes sense. And I'm glad to see that Sanford at least is recognizing that the tourism market needs economic development.
There is a lot of data in the technical report that's attached to this letter that was raised through focus groups. I think we did a survey of about 300 households in Arundel, and Howard did a number of interviews with local individuals, and there is quite a mass of data there. And some of it, it's not earth-shattering. But for instance, one of the questions asked was, if you go out to supper, where do you go to eat? Well, it dropped out of that 2% of the people in Arundel who go out to eat supper eat in Arundel. Now, it might tell you maybe there's a possibility for a restaurant or two somewhere down Route 1. So there's a lot that you can read into that information, but I would encourage you to kind of take a look through the report and see some of the questions that were asked, and it also fell out of the report that Arundel actually has a little bit higher income than most of the surrounding towns, which came as a bit of a surprise to me. I always thought we were sort of the poor boys in the area, but we're not. And it was also evident that, from the report, that taxes in Arundel are, if anything, a little lower than the surrounding towns. We hear a lot about taxes in Arundel being horrible, and taxes in Arundel are not horrible. They're a little less than everybody else. So we have some things going for us. We've got lower taxes. It was almost universally considered a nice place to live. Mm-hmm. We had something like a 95% response that said Arundel is either a good or a great place to live. There was only like 4-point-something% that rated it poor or terrible. So the town has got a few things going for us. That, excellent transportation facilities between I-95, Route 1. We have rail going right through the town. Biddeford Airport, if anything could ever be done with it. You have Sanford Airport, just a few miles down the road the other way, which is a very successful facility. They've done everything right, while Biddeford has done everything wrong. Although actually Biddeford hasn't done anything, so you can't say they've done anything wrong. We have, airline connections between Portland, and we also have Manchester and Boston, which are only an hour and a half's ride away. So I think Arundel has got a lot going for it, but we've got to sit down now and go through this plan, go through the data, and come up with some practical ideas that can actually be put to use in the hopes of attracting some additional business into town. That's kind of our next job, which I would think we'd probably be doing concurrently with the marketing and branding program. But before we go any further, we'd kind of like to hear back from you guys and from the general public, if anybody will take the time to go online, read the report, and get back to us.
we're also hoping that once, the general public does get a hold of the report and stuff, maybe we can get some more interested parties to help us out, because another thing that he had mentioned was, subcommittees. Why not put a subcommittee together of people that are interested in seeing to it or helping out with the airport, or finance committee
Or promotion.
or promotion, you know what I mean? We need people to help us out, and we're really hoping that, even if they don't want to be on the EDC, they might be interested in being on one of the subcommittees to help out, so. More volunteers.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Yes. Well, I think, before you get too far, I think, there's probably not gonna be a lot of people to show up, but, I'm gonna try to, put out a public workshop and, maybe pick a couple of bullets and here's what we're gonna talk about and kind of see what you're gonna get. I mean, we know what's happened, right? I mean, we had a meeting last week and 2 landowners from all of Route 1 showed up, not all of Route 1, but I mean, at least we gotta put the effort out there to try to see, maybe try to host a public workshop.
And you should mention that of the 2 that showed up, one of them, his land wasn't affected by the changes.
All 3 of us there. 2 whose land was affected.
2 whose land was affected.
Yeah, one that wasn't.
Exactly.
We're gonna have copies of this comp plan sheet.
Yes, I'll give copies to the planning board and the comprehensive planning committee. It'll be on the website. We'll have copies for people to view at town hall. We'll get it out in, like you said, in the Arrow. Try to get as much publicity to try to get some feedback to see when the EDC moves forward in the economic development plan, what the feeling of the community is as well in regards to this, in response to the study.
Todd, may I assume that you also include the letters that are involved? 'Cause
Yes,
the
absolutely.
report itself is only part of the story.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
work we've done with that is also should be known.
Yep, both letters.
Both
Yes.
letters.
And when you send a copy of that of the letter to
Yes,
us,
first
just
thing
so
in the morning.
I can add it to what we've been on reading.
That was a giant task ahead, folks. Man.
They're ready for it, I think.
Keep reading this aging population thing, that's right.
Well, the aging part.
Nothing wrong with an aging population.
I wonder if you want to include the budget for it as far as in getting copies, just so they're.
Yeah, everybody included. We'll take some time to read it, it's some interesting reading.
Yeah.
We can take some objections to
That's
some of the
not,
comments about.
that's not even including all the work that John had done. I mean, he's got he did his own
He's got a town
data
file.
collection and
Well,
of
we've
all
got-
the businesses, he's making a list of all the,
Yeah, we've done a few extra things. We have set up a database of all the businesses in town, which includes, contact information, phone numbers, email addresses, that sort of thing. We have done a land inventory that shows, what vacant land is available in each of the business zones, what acreage is available. We set up another database which shows each parcel of land in Arundel and which zones it is in. And I say zones with an S because our present zoning is such a mess. We have one parcel that's in 4 different zones, many that are in 3, and hundreds that are in 2. So
Arundel is not unique when it comes to that.
So we've been doing a few other things, besides what's been done in this report. We have had some fair amount of production over the last year, I think.
John says we've done that, he's been very generous.
Well,
He's
I've done that.
Stop.
Unless I have my committees confused, and John can correct me if I'm wrong, when the strategic planning committee was first meeting, we talked about the businesses in town. Did we not make a suggestion that perhaps a directory of businesses be published so as to encourage the local residents to know what businesses we have and maybe eat in town, for example?
We might very well have done, and my memory is such that I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
I think when I first came on
Right.
board, that's what you were working on it. Right, the list, and that's, does have one compiled, it's not complete though, because we have yet to get everybody to give you
Well, even
all the
if it was
information.
temporarily incomplete, and we could then solicit, through that, other business, if you're not on the list, please let us know so we can add you.
Well-
So that could be both on the website and maybe in, a special publication at some point, be available for people just to pick up at town hall.
It is
The
on
list. on the
listings,
list.
the listings
It's on the website.
are on the website right now. If you go to the Arundel website and go to the section on business and economic development, go to the economic development page, you'll find business listings, which are broken down both alphabetically and by the type of the business it is.
And
So-
then perhaps what we need is advertisement of the fact that that exists, so that people can use it as a resource.
Yeah.
Because it would seem to me to make sense to have the existing businesses be supported by the local population, but
Yeah,
not everybody knows what's out there.
no, you're quite right, yeah. The other thing we did back in the old days on the strategic planning committee was, well, it's like 3-4 years ago now, was we drew up a color-coded map of where all the businesses are located in town along the Route 1 corridor, and it also showed where all the vacant land is available in the business zones down the Route 1 corridor. Everything was indexed with map coordinates for whatever piece of land or whatever business you were looking for. And, nice little map, but sitting up in my attic, nobody's ever expressed any interest in using it, so.
But that was the other thing, we talked about we tried to get the word out. It's hard to get the word out to these businesses. We have a section on the website too where people have something they want to rent or lease, like if they have a vacant building, a business property.
Yeah.
We contacted a couple of real estate agents,
We-
letting them know that you can put on the Arundel website, and we didn't really get any response from that. That was
No,
kinda
we set up a fairly short database of
Yeah.
all of the realtors in Arundel and every surrounding town, Dayton, Biddeford, Saco, Lyman, Kennebunkport. And we sent out a mailing to all of them saying, if you have any business properties, be it vacant property or vacant buildings that you would like to list on our website, let us know. We got absolutely no response on that. We still have the web page on the web, but we've never had any listings. But another thing that we did, Linda set up a Facebook page to try to get, the word out on some of the stuff that we were doing via Facebook, which we thought might get a little more publicity. There's an awful lot of people use Facebook that perhaps normally wouldn't be looking at the Arundel website. But I don't know that we've had a heck of a lot of response to that either, have we?
Well, I haven't really, there wasn't too much put on there. We were waiting till this got got presented to you, and now we can start promoting that, I think, maybe get a few more likes. And
So there is a Town of Arundel Facebook page?
Arundel Economic Development Committee Facebook page, yes, there is.
Oh, okay.
And you can access it off
can ask
the
it-
home page on the Arundel website. If you look on the right column, there is a link there to the Arundel Facebook page.
And it's very informative.
Says the crime honestly.
I mean, no, we haven't really done too much with it, but now that we want to try to get more community feedback, we're going to be posting every meeting, asking people, to.
Might be a little blurb that we can add in the arrow also.
So unless anybody's got any questions or comments or suggestions, I think that's probably about all we've got to say, isn't it?
Yeah. A lot more to say, but that's all.
Yeah. That's all we got for now.
Anybody else have? I took a few sessions of some of the stuff that was in here. Neither here nor there. But I guess we can digest this a little bit more, and we'll still have communications between your committee and this board, and move things ahead.
Okay.
Great, thanks, folks. Appreciate it. Okay. Then back up to public forum. Does anybody have any comments or questions regarding anything that's not already on the agenda? Okay, moving on.
I'll just let you each.
I'll save it.
Okay. Town manager, let's take up the matter of foreclosures.
Yes. Well, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
All right, we had, as the close of business today, there's 8 foreclosures that we'll be moving forward with, as of tomorrow morning. Usually when we go through the final process of foreclosures, not by any fault of ours, but with the changing of mortgage holders and things like that, we'll inevitably run into some lien holder that wasn't notified. So this list isn't totally, I don't believe all 8 of these accounts will end up going to strict foreclosure, unless we've done our homework right and we've got them all. But you all know that mortgages get sold at a pretty fast rate these days. So I'm hopeful that there's a few of them that we've missed out there, so we can have another opportunity to gain some of these tax monies. We did find one today that came in to pay another one, and realized that another of the properties that they held mortgage to actually they hadn't been notified as an interested party. So at this time, there are 8 properties that are being foreclosed on. I will update you at the next meeting if we find any stragglers, any other lien holders that we weren't aware of. But short of the need that the perceived need to waive these foreclosures, there's no necessary action on behalf of the board. Just letting you know that there are 8 properties that we will be doing final foreclosure notices and possibly selling, possible evictions, all the fun stuff as the tax collector and treasurer.
So the 30-day notice of impending foreclosure hasn't gone out there?
Yes.
It has?
Yes.
It's expired?
It is expired.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
we can't,
over.
we couldn't waive it.
Oh, yeah.
No.
No.
Well, they could waive them all. No,
No.
closed business. I
Right.
apologize.
Right.
No. So those are the 8. Of course, we could find out still that we've done something wrong. If we've done it wrong, we have to start the process over again. But as of right now, there's 8 properties. Beginning of last week, said how many were there? It was, we probably pulled in 20 or so
25.
over the last week and a half. So, and some people right down to the wire. There was a woman in at 4:15 today. Came in at 3:45, wanted to pay by check, said no, it's cash or bank check only, and she left, went promptly to her bank and got the cash to pay that account off. So lean times out there, but that's where we're at.
So we own these properties.
Own these properties.
Okay, so we have to be careful about occupants, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And insurance and those types of things.
Absolutely. My first call in the morning will be to the attorney to make sure we have everything in order and we start the process properly.
Mhm.
Hey, Tom, did we go over committee reports? Did you go over that?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Because I do have something to report on.
Okay, that's what we have enough. Do you want to take that up, Dan? Go ahead. On comp plan committee.
We'll meet on the 28th, yes, and I'm assuming you have something for the planning board, Dan?
Yeah, just a couple of small things, the workshop that we had with the planning board and the comprehensive committee, and also planning board. Planning board meeting last Thursday was one item, was a change of use in a shoreline zone. Planning board was determined if the applicant was complete. It's a change of use of an existing fish hatchery and research facility to a residential use and floor area expansion. There was quite a bit of discussion that the planning board had with determining whether the application was complete or not. as they always do. They went round and around with this, and they finally determined that it was complete. There's a sidewalk scheduled for this on the 25th.
May I? Fish hatchery turned into a residential use?
It's the Bassett property.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yep.
Yep.
Formally official.
Going away.
Yeah.
And because of it took them so long, they skipped the planner's report and jumped right into the comprehensive workshop, public workshop. As I alluded to before, this was a discussion about the proposed zone changes on Route 1. There were 8 people in the audience, 9 because Tom came in, yeah. Of the 8 people, I believe there was only 2 folks that had direct impact from those 2 zones, for the DB1 and DB2 zones. So there was a discussion on that. Tad gave a briefing on what it was all about, reasons why. One individual stood up and was really, really against it. However, this individual, his property would not be impacted at all, but he voiced his opposition to it. There's a lot of discussion about property rights. A couple of comments that came out, sewer is key, and that came out a couple of times. And pretty much I think that's what I had. I don't know if Velmer or Tom, if you want to add anything to that, but.
Well, apparently mass mailings from the town of Arundel find their way into the wastebasket, people can open up an envelope.
Yeah, that was one thing that was, we don't even look at them. It's like, come on, guys. So what else can we do? So, it was
It's a targeted mailing, and people.
Yeah. It was a discussion that, maybe we could follow up with, Tad could take the, 2 hours or so, if that, to make a 5-minute phone call to try to get these, hey, look, there's a discussion on these zones, your property is directly affected, and leave a message or something to that effect, just to try to make it another step to bring in some more people. But after that, I don't know where the heck else we go, so. It's discouraging, let's put it that way. I was very discouraged by
I've
it.
often wondered how many of those go unread, unopened, unnoticed, just.
And it was in an envelope. It wasn't just a little folded piece of paper. It was actually enveloped
Yeah, it
addressed
was.
to you. It just
I got
right to you.
It's not writing on, this could be a bill, pay
Yeah.
attention,
Yeah.
things like that.
Congratulations, you have won.
That bill open.
That's all I got, Mr. Chair.
There's an RSU facilities meeting, 7:30 a.m. Thursday morning. Is that at KES?
It is indeed.
Room 102, 7:30. 7:30.
7:30.
7:30 in the morning.
The agenda could well last the discussion 3 days. It's going to be a full discussion.
3-day agenda.
I do have an objection to that, the times of those meetings. They want public participation. You just can't get it at 7:30 in the
No, they
morning
don't.
and
That's why they have it then.
and getting working people to be able to attend, it's
I share your view.
a lot of, finance committee, facilities committee, you can't get public. I would love to go to some of them, but, have to work.
Your boss will let you off.
I usually attend, not usually, I try to attend the RSU 21 meetings, and I'll bring it up at the next time I go.
And because I think even one of their PTA meetings or PT something meeting was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The teachers are still in session at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I think I read something on Facebook, somebody else made the complaint, I think on the York County Co-Star. Was it you? I'm sure I don't think you're the only one.
I'll just let you know that RSU 21 isn't alone in that situation, though. I live in a community as part of RSU 57, and that's one of my wife's biggest, pet peeves is that PTA meetings are at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and budget meetings are in the morning, so I think it happens in more places than just RSU 21.
And if it weren't for people like us that are retired, it would be hard for anybody from Arundel to attend.
Okay. The Selectmen have proposed district-wide meeting to be held in conjunction with the towns of Kennebunk and Kennebunk Sports and other entities. Proposed date is February 26, 2014. There's a letter or email here from Mr. Tibbetts over in Kennebunk, proposing this meeting with not only the boards, but some town managers, but with the sewer district and Kennebunk Light and Power, and the Wells, Kennebunk Wells Water District.
We do have a meeting on this Friday from noon to 2. I've been trying to catch up with Barry since when I got the email. I heard about the initial meeting. We spoke briefly. Friday, we're going to discuss what exactly will be the topics of discussion, and I'll send that around to you once we've come up with what it is that we're hoping to do. Barry says that this was done in 01, I believe, when the elementary school, middle school in Kennebunk was being built. And that Arundel had been invited to that meeting as well. And what they're trying to do is get everybody from all of these boards to understand that the RSU has needs, but so do the communities, and how can we all work together to try to make it palatable to the residents of the towns and the sewer districts and the utilities to be able to work in conjunction with each other to try to ease the transitions that are required as we move forward for each community. I guess it came out of a discussion in the Kennebunk Board of Selectmen had a discussion to say you need to invite the RSU and all these other parties to the table to say over the next 5, 10, 20 years, this is what the communities need, this is what the utilities need, this is what the schools need. How can we all meet our needs and not impact the taxpayers all at once? So I don't know exactly, I don't know the gist of the exact meeting, but that was the overview that I was given. And as I said, after I meet with Barry and John and Lori, I'm not sure who's in charge over there now, and Norm and Sharon I'll send around an email, let you know what it is that we're thinking, and at the next meeting, we should be able to lay out an agenda so that you know what it is you're walking into. He does plan to have video creations, create a video of the meeting to play on all the local access stations so the residents are aware of what the boards feel, all boards, so the RSU, the towns, so that we can start a community-wide conversation between the three communities.
Is the RSU board on board?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Andrew, Barry did say that Andrew was on board, so I can only assume that they'll be attending and they'll be participating in these meetings as well.
Okay. Common attractions.
Yes.
Okay, discussion regarding the request from a citizen for Brimstone Road to install a street light on a utility pole on his property at the resident's expense.
Mr. Schrader's built a new house in Brimstone Road, across from the first hole of that John Golf Course. He would like to pay to install and pay for the electric costs of having that street light outside of his property on the Brimstone Road. I've gone through minutes where it was discussed that no new street light requests. Patrick and I have spoken. He said, how can I go about this? I said, well, you can either purchase a telephone pole, put it on your property, and have a street light at the end of your driveway. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to know if the selectmen would be interested if he explicitly took on all costs associated, meaning if he moved away, he would pay to have it removed, pay any penalties associated with that. But he is interested in having a street light out there, and he is willing to bear the costs of that street light. The reason that, well, it's before the board because the board has to grant permission. I said the board won't grant permission this evening. I wanted to give you a heads up, try to get a feel for how you felt about this idea, letting you know that this is one way to not eliminate, but to avoid the precedents that would be set by the board allowing Mr. Schrader to have a street light, then citizen Z wants a street light, and then citizen F wants a street light. Suddenly we're paying $700, $800, $1,000 a year in electric for the town, paying for street lights that were requested by residents. This is why Patrick would like to do it this way. He said that he would like the light there. He does not mind bearing the expense, and he wants to know if the selectmen are interested in allowing him to do that.
Why isn't he just contracting with CMP or paying up Light Power?
He needs the Board of Selectmen's permission to put the street light on a utility pole in the town's
Yeah,
right
right
of
away.
way.
They
So-
didn't do that before, because I know that years ago, we had a street light on the pole out in front of our house on the campground road, and Central Maine put up the light and added it to our light bill every month.
For you?
Yeah.
Really?
Matter of
Yes,
fact,
they
the
do
whole-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Patrick told me that end of town might be Kennebunk Light and Power.
No,
No, it's not CMP.
CMP.
They
Yeah.
would not let him have the go-ahead without permission from the Board of Selectmen.
does he not,
because it's
maybe
in the
not
right
have
of way.
poles?
Because they're
that
putting the
side?
pole on the right of way.
Poles in the right.
Yeah, the pole is in the right of way.
That's probably why, but once they do that, then they can bill him directly.
Absolutely.
They're not gonna put a pole in our right of way without us saying, okay, you can do it.
Right.
You need to do a full permit.
But
It comes before the board.
I've just heard interesting conversations about the position of the town of Arundel and streetlights in the past, so I had to send you a little digging for me to make sure that I wasn't stepping in a pit of snakes or anything. But if it's okay with the board, that is what Patrick would like to go ahead and do. The next meeting will get permission for that utility pole. I don't know, he didn't explain exactly why he had said that CMP needed permission. He may, you're correct, Dan, he may not have utility poles on his side of the street. I'm just trying to think of Brimstone Road, which side I don't think he would be that specific, though. I think he's just looking for a pole that's in the vicinity of his house to put a street light on.
I'm wondering if the poles come from Irving Road towards Du Bois and then just to the golf course and Limerick Road sides. But they must have put something to get him power.
Right, he has power, so there's gotta be a pole within distance to draw.
There's a pole right in front of his house.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
That's
the way,
the-
that's the way
that's
Central Maine, that's where they put the light. The pole was, I mean, it was a town pole, it was in the town right away in front of the house. It was the pole that our electricity came off,
Yeah,
and they put a street light on it for us.
and you made that request?
Yeah, I made the
And
request
you
and
paid the electric bill
paid it,
and?
But how long ago was that?
1965.
The things have changed.
So I think,
Yeah.
I think things have changed a little
I
bit.
think they've updated
Because,
policies since then.
well, they had, matter of fact, we had about the best lit up road in town, because we had privately paid streetlights all up and down, and the price was only something like, $10 or $15 a month, and then you contract for a year, and then once your contract was up, you still just paid it, and then every year, they'd raise the rates a little bit and raise it a little bit, and about the time it got to be $30 or more a month, we just called them, told them to take it out. We put one on the front of put them on the peak of the house.
And they took it out.
They took it out, no
Yeah.
problem.
They
We
won't
didn't have a
do
contract.
that, they won't do that now.
We didn't have a
No,
contract
it's a
with them.
10-year deal with them now.
Yeah.
Where if you sign up for a light, it's X amount of dollars for the light, and then you need to have that X amount of years contract.
I think what I want to see is, I want to see what CMP wants.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't understand why they need it.
Because in the past, one of the boards had made, it wasn't a written policy, it was just in the minutes that, to only put, lights at intersections.
Major intersections.
Major
Yeah, but
intersections.
that's at our expense.
Yeah.
You know, Somebody else wants to pay for it, I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah, why not?
Why
yes,
doesn't he
unless,
just put
unless
a
it's,
light
lighten up his neighbor's bedroom or
at
something.
the end of his driveway?
That,
Um,
he wants it on the street pole. Maybe he doesn't want it on the pole in his driveway, or.
The pole is on his side
It's
of
on-
the road, and it's probably maybe 20 to 30 feet after his driveway toward Brimstone.
Yeah,
So it's right there, practically directly in front of his house.
Wouldn't it be better for him to just put one up on the peak of his roof or his garage, and the same, an electrician put the one up on our house, it looked like a regular street light, and it was on the peak of our house, it really lit up the yard.
maybe he doesn't want to light up the yard.
Yeah, he doesn't want to light up
He
the
wants to
yard.
light up the road and
The
whatever.
first tee, the first you go to the fairway. The light bulb.
Night, we'll talk to Jeff, see if we go with night.
Yeah.
Is there both a capital and an operating cost?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
And what are those
I don't know the exact.
numbers roughly?
I think it's roughly $2,500 to have the gooseneck installed, what the kind of light is called the gooseneck, and then I've heard anywhere from $20 to $30 a month in electricity for those street lights.
But if he's gonna pay for it,
Right.
it doesn't matter.
It's his contract with Central Maine, why should we even be involved?
That's what I mean, I wanna see what
Yeah.
CMP wants, what
Probably
he
because
does.
it's our right.
So there's no objection from the board for the idea of a streetlight so long as it's paid for by the resident?
We have no contract with CMP, or no obligations for
I
it.
think that's what the situation is going to end up being. Patrick was out of state, but I think it's going to be that they need permission, kind of like a pole location permit, where they come in and they want to move a telephone pole.
Yeah.
They just may need permission to put it on that pole in the right of way. But he said they would not move forward with him until he had something from the selectmen that said it was okay to do so. So I'll get all of the
Okay.
information from Patrick at the meeting on the
Yeah,
10th.
at no expense and responsibility for the town.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. When CMP does stuff like that now, they put deeds. Because I asked them on my property quite a few years ago, I had one pole and it was leaning, and I asked them to put a lean pole instead of having to take the cable out. And they said, we'll put a pole in at no cost, but they put it in the deed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they cover their butts.
Yeah.
They've been burned.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they've probably been
Yeah, I
bought
know.
several times, yeah.
I know it. And they've got pretty good records, believe it or not, where their poles are, and reference to the documents that allow them to be there, it's not bad.
And there's a couple towns around York County who have hit telephone poles this year with their plow trucks, and Fair Point or CMP have tried to get them to pay for the telephone poles, and they said, no, it's in our right of way.
Yeah.
We can hit it if we want to, because we let you put it there. So that's turned into a fight, a few localities that are very close to us that will remain nameless.
Okay, next item is the preliminary fiscal year 14-15 budget to be presented at the our next meeting, I guess.
Yeah, that'll be your next meeting, and you'll have something to go over and come back to me with any comments or questions or concerns prior to moving forward to the budget board.
Okay. You know, if you could, I mean, can we get that before, the Friday before the meeting, just so
Yeah.
that,
Give
You
us
don't have to
time.
read it on the
Huh?
weekend?
Give us some time.
just a little time?
Yeah.
Certainly.
I was struggling to get through this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I quit, I was busy all weekend long,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't get to it.
I didn't, I wasn't about to
Mm.
print it off the
Mm.
computer.
Okay, review and approve and sign the payables warrant.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
that's right.
Waiting for Jason to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe I already touched on the next item, but credit and debit cards are now accepted at the town hall.
There they are. We're still waiting for the PIN pad on the debit cards. They have to run debit cards as credit, but they can do that. And I will, once we have all of the specifics from Androscoggin Bank, everything will be posted in town hall on placards telling them what the fees are and things like that. We've accepted maybe 3 or 4 credit cards to date. So we'll put that in the arrow, put it on the website, we'll advertise it so people know that they can use it.
Okay, we have a meeting now scheduled with Will Conway and Ryan Senator at our next meeting as well, apparently.
That is correct. Will is awaiting some information from some contractors.
Okay. Looks like next meeting is gonna be fairly busy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a TIF discussion as well.
We finally received the application from the seasonal cottages folks last Monday, and Beth is getting all the assessment data together so that we can have everything together, so that we can have it reviewed and then bring it to the selectmen for discussion.
How long a term are they asking for?
25-year.
So, you know, we had a discussion on this a while back, I think Tom was the one that asked, you know, it's just, we talked to somebody within the town that says, you know, is this a good move, does that discussion happen, or are you waiting to see the contract first before we move?
We've been waiting to, we haven't fleshed anything out because I wanted to see what their initial proposal was in full before we moved and countered or anything like that, but it's taken a lot longer to get that initial application than I thought it would, so.
Yeah, they're gonna come to us and say, we need it, we need it, we need it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're gonna be in a position where we have no time left.
That's what I'm getting at.
We have a deadline coming up quick.
That actually isn't the case any longer. Joe isn't gonna start any work before April 1st, so the assessment date will be April 1st, 2014, not April 1st, 2013, which is why we were under the gun for this year to beat the this current fiscal year. So that's no longer going to be the case. And that's why I think they backed off a little bit, because April 1st, 2014 can be the assessment date, because there'll be no improvements down that property prior to then. I'm just waiting for the definite answer from Joe Polini as to whether or not they would like to wait for a regular town meeting, which would be in June. If that were the case, we could wait till June and do it at a regular town meeting, we wouldn't be under the gun. And I think that's where part of their delay came from, was the realization that they're only looking for the April 1st, 2014 commitment date, because nothing's going to change in the valuation. So it doesn't matter to them now if they make it by April 1st, 2014, or if we do it after that. And so that, once we get the full application, Joe and Jim and Tad and I are going to meet to see if that's their strategy, because if it is, it'll be a lot easier to do that at a regular town meeting. We'll have more people there, we'll have more time to get all of this information out there, because that was my major concern, is that we're under the gun now, and this, this isn't gonna look good. So I have a feeling that's why they've kind of slowed down on their press, because they realize that they can wait till April, or anytime after, as long as we beat April 1st, 2015, that TIF will be approved under the current valuation, so that we know there's no real pressure right now. It gives us a little more time, it gives us more time to get the word out to the public, which was my main concern. After the business after hours with the Chamber of Commerce, I pulled Rick Light and Jim Demises aside and said, guys, we're getting way too close. And Jim had called me the day after and said, well, it doesn't look like Joe's gonna do anything before July. He plans to start doing work. And if that's the case, then he'll be in good shape, we'll be okay for a regular town meeting.
But we're still anticipating we're gonna get our own consultant.
Absolutely, most certainly. I've spoken to Leah, she's given me some recommendations that I've spoken to.
Yes, I know a few too.
You do as well?
Yeah.
All right.
In fact, there's a group at EP, but who meets before, who does TIF.
All right, I'll give you a call.
Yeah. Okay, Dan wants to talk about Eastern Trail parking, which was mentioned prominently in this report as well.
Absolutely.
So, we've had this discussion, I don't want to get too deep into it, because I want to make sure that the public has a chance to do their input, so I'd like to make sure that it's on the next agenda, but, we talked a little bit about parking right there along the side, Phil had come up with some ideas, and, and I'd like to try to move forward with that, and try to get something so that we can put it to the voters in June.
What I was planning on doing was to have a separate warrant article like we do with Eastern Trail maintenance, Eastern Trail dues, and then have an Eastern Trail parking. Roger and I will work with local contractors, or Roger might be able to do it himself, to get a cost estimate of what that would be for the town to do the roadside parking, and put that on a separate warrant article.
And I'd like to see that relatively soon. I mean, I know we're in January, but next thing you know, we're in June here, and we pass another year, so.
Our parking signs down at Eastern Trail,
Yeah.
we're looking pretty smart with a $50 fine that nobody has ever been assessed. Could we take the $50 off the sign, leave the no parking, take off the $50? We look pretty good down there.
Sure.
I look at that every day and I see cars sitting there,
Right beside the sign.
right in front of the sign. And I say to myself, few things.
I guess I never looked at it that way, Phil, but you're right, yeah, we'll take that off.
Let's deputize Phil.
Yeah.
We'll deputize you tonight.
No,
Give you a
no.
little book.
Yes.
See those people shove a card on it. So
No,
that was
but I-
$50.
I sweat every time I meet the deputy sheriff. I'm not the slowest driver.
Yeah.
You got it. Okay. Any other business? Motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Or adjourn.
You all got the results from the election, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Okay. I sent it that night.